Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Charles in Charge Cowboy Sports Report. It is the 17th of May, Friday night, about 10:43 p.m. Central Time, my time. Whenever your channel's kind of small and you do live shows, it's kind of hit or miss. I'm hoping that some late night Cowboy fans tune in as this video is going to be my prognostication of the 2024 season. I've scheduled written down for this year. I have a schedule of last year, and I have the schedule for Philly, Washington, and the Giants. Now, guys, if you're watching this live or you're watching the after it's uploaded, I implore you to hit that red subscribe button. It's free. It costs you nothing. To hit that red subscribe button, it costs you nothing. And in the future, if you don't like my content, you can unsubscribe. It's free. Free investment. I'm 100 away from 500. After that, my goal is 1,000. When I hit 1,000, this show will skyrocket and be able to get all the bells and whistles I'll be able to put back into it with a desktop so I can show y'all things instead of explaining it to y'all. Studio equipment, sound bites, microphone, a call-in line for live shows that are crowded and hopping so people can call in, express opinions about pre-game, post-game, or whatever it is that we're doing at the time, guys. The subscribe button is huge. Been watching this team since Super Bowl 28, back in 93. Since then, I've bled blue and silver. Don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason for it. It just happened. And I've seen about every snap, every game since then, the second Buffalo Super Bowl on. Played the game my entire youth, been a student of the game my entire life. Everybody brings their own take to the table. Mike Fisher brings his journalistic take because he works in the Star. Law's kind of a hybrid because he has connections inside the Star, plus fan talk. Then you got like Mark Holmes and Rome, their fan talk. I bring my side of fan talk and my experience with this team of 30 years to the table. And I know football and I know what I'm talking about. And I guarantee you, you will like this product. On the count of three, I don't have a bell like Mike Fisher does, but on the count of three, hit that subscribe button. 1, 2, 3, boom. If you did it, you're a real one, and I love you for it. On the count of three, hit that thumbs up button. Helps get a video viewed more. Pops off on feeds that it usually wouldn't. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Big like. If you did it, you're a real one, and I love you for it. Now we're going on the 3-minute mark. If it hits the 10-minute mark, and nobody really jumps in. I know it's late on the East Coast, almost midnight, but it's Friday night, so I'm hoping that some people are game. Now, everybody knows how good we were at home last season. And the year before that, before Green Bay's loss, that horrible playoff loss, before that, the last home loss that we had was the season opener of the 2022 season against Tampa. After that, we won 8 in a row at home to finish off the 2022 season. Last season, we ran the table at home, averaging 40 points a game. 16 in a row at home. That's why we were so hyped for the 2 seed, because we knew we had 2 home playoff games to get to the chip game, but got walloped by the Packers. And there was a few things in that game, more than a few, that are very, very questionable to me. Now, we struggled on the road last season. We had 9 home games. I think we went 4 of 5 in those home games. 9 away games. We went, I think, 4 or 5 of those away games. At home, we're 8-0. And the away wins that we had were at New York, at Carolina, those 2, against a 6-11 and 2-15 team. At Washington was a third away win against a 4-13 team. So the only decent half-ass quality win, if you want to call it, is at the Chargers, and they finished 5-12. So we didn't have a road win against an opponent with more than 6 wins last season. At home, we had some big wins. We beat down Philly. 11-win team, playoff team. We beat Detroit 12-5, 3 seed, went to the championship game. We had some big games at home that we won. We have home field advantage now. We used to be a what do you call it? A neutral turf almost. But now it's finally home field advantage. And now week 1, with the way the schedule's laid out, is so important. Week 1 at Cleveland. 3:30 on Fox. September 8th. Team is tough. 5 seed. Didn't win the division. Beat Houston in the regular season. Houston beat them in the first round. They didn't have a quarterback. Deshaun Watson might be the quarterback this year. I don't know. I know Flacco's not going to be. They have issues at quarterback. Watson's not been the same guy since he was when he was with the Texans. Even if it's a defensive battle, an ugly, low-scoring 17-13, 16-13 type game, as long as we get that W on the road against a playoff opponent, quality opponent, that'll be huge going into the rest of the season. Starting 1-0, and then following that game up at home against the Saints. The Saints don't really pose any threat to us. Now, do I think that we're going to beat the Browns? I think our defenses will be evenly matched when it comes down to September. And Mike Zimmer implements this defense and all pros that we have on this defense, Pro Bowlers. I think the difference in the game will be the quarterback. And there are wild trade rumors right now about us going to get Miles Sanders or some decent name running back from another team. And Miles Sanders would be beautiful. I mean, he played great for Philly 2 years ago. Last year in Carolina, didn't do anything because they had no offensive line, they had no receivers, and a rookie quarterback. So Miles Austin, he just went there for the money for that 1 year. I don't know why they expected him to do well. But if we can pull a trade to get Miles Austin and Miles Sanders, that will complete the offense. Because the running back room will consist of Miles Sanders, scat back, Elliott, the power back, and Dowdle or Deuce Vaughn, the change of pace back. Beautiful. And Zeke Elliott is great pass protection, as we know. I think this offensive line is going to be a mauler with Miles Sanders. A back like Miles Sanders could run behind this offensive line very well. So, yes, week 1 at Cleveland, I think we come out and get that victory. I do. Even if it's an ugly one. If it's 17-16. If it's 17-10 and the Browns score with no time left and they go for 2, kind of like Detroit did, and don't get it, something like that, low scoring game. As long as we get that W, to be huge. Going to Cleveland, we go to the home, play the Saints the following week. That'd be another dub. And then week 3 would be at home versus Baltimore. And that'd be Fox 3:30 also. Probably America's game of the week. Number 1 seed of AFC last year, number 2 seed of NFC last year. Now, at home against Baltimore, I'm not sure. Away at Baltimore, I'm not sure. If we're playing, at MT&T Bank Stadium, I don't know. Playing at home against Baltimore, and they've lost some pieces too, I think we have a shot at beating the Ravens if we contain Lamar Jackson. And even if we have to have Mark Parsons spy on Lamar Jackson, the fastest guy on defense for us, or even if we bring down Marquise Bell from the safety spot down the linebacker to spy Lamar Jackson, somebody with speed that can tackle to spy the man so he don't run for 150 yards. If we contain him in the run game, we contain that offense. Defense is pretty good also, but our offense, even last year under a new system, was prolific. Quarterback finished second team All Pro. CeeDee Lamb first team All Pro. Pardon me. But I can very easily see us being 3-0 after 3 games. And then we have a short week after that going to the Giants in the Meadowlands, Thursday Night Football. Our first 3 primetime games are on the road. Interesting to set it up that way. The Giants, we own them. Unless some huge changes, that's not going to change anytime soon. We'd handle the Giants on a short week. At New York. Only way we wouldn't is if we didn't have, say, Dak and Cooper Rush was playing quarterback. And even then, if Rush was at quarterback, I still think we could beat the Giants, as we did 2 years ago when, Rush was at the helm for 5 games. So I can easily see us be 4-0 going into the Sunday night game at Pittsburgh. Bear with me. Getting over a little congestion. I can very easily see us 4-0 going into week 5 at Pittsburgh. Sunday Night Football. And even though I believe we are a better team than Pitt, we're winning 4 in a row. We're feeling good. But we're going to have to lose some games. I don't see us losing any more than 5 this season. I think we possibly win 13. So if we're going to put a loss in the loss column, being that we're not the best on the road at Pittsburgh Sunday night, you could probably say an L. And no blowout game either, Just one of those Cowboy Pittsburgh tilts. We've had plenty of them in the past. And coming off that loss after a 4-game win streak, in that 4-game win streak that includes wins over the Browns and the Ravens, even though they're out of conference games, those are still quality wins. Saints and Giants not so much. Lose against Pittsburgh 4-1. Before the bye week, we host Detroit, and we have something to prove in that in that game. That 20-19 victory that we had over them was not a fluke. And I think we come out against Detroit and punch them in the mouth. And Mike McCarthy goes as aggressive as Dan Campbell goes in that particular game as far as play calling and risk taking. And I say we probably beat Detroit by 2 scores or more. So just like last season, week 7 will be our bye. I can see us easily being 4-1 at the bye week. 5-1 at the bye week, my bad. Wins against Cleveland, Saints, Baltimore Giants, and Lions, and then losing against Pittsburgh. So 5-1 at the bye. Coming out of the bye week, even though we have a week's of rest, we go to San Fran Sunday Night Football. I don't see us winning that game because it's in Levi Stadium. If it was at home, I would give us a better shot to win. I say we lose that game, but we're actually very competitive in that game. Out of the last 3 games that we played against San Fran, the 2021 playoff game, 2023 playoff game, in last year's regular season game. I think this game will be more competitive than all three of those games, especially the last one. Say it ends in a 3 to 7 point game. But we're very competitive, and maybe one or two plays we leave on the field, which could have made a big difference in the game to winning the game. But we take credence in that and lesson, and don't feel too bad about it. Wish that we'd have won it because I think that game against San Fran, Week 8 Sunday night, will be for the 1 seed. I think that tiebreaker will be big for the 1 seed. Just like last season, we finished 12-5 with San Fran and Detroit. We played head-to-head against Detroit, beat them, but San Fran beat us. If we would have somehow beat the Niners, in October last year, then we could have possibly got the 1 seed, but that didn't happen. So after Week 8, we're 5-2, home against Atlanta. That's going to be one of those 40-3 type games. The next week, we're home against Philly. And with Philly today getting Justin Simmons, you got Justin Simmons and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Justin Simmons is going to be just like Kevin Byard was last year. He's 30, not in his prime anymore. Better than Reed Blankenship. But that secondary has been full of stars for the last 2 seasons. Even in 2022, when Darius Slay and Bradbury were 2 years younger, and they had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Epps. That secondary and Nico Corner was Avonte Maddox, Nico Roby-Coleman. That secondary was still getting torched. Fast forward 2 years later, Darius Slay's 2 years older. Bradbury is. I know they took a corner in the first round and a corner in the second round. And they got John Connor, CJG back at free safety, and they got Justin Simmons at strong safety now. For some reason, I still think that secondary can be beat, especially if the run game gets going for the opposing offense. They're not gonna beat us at our house. We're gonna take that W and we're gonna run with it. So going into Week 11 at home against Houston, we'll be 7-2. Monday Night Football, I-45 rivalry. Every time we play against the Texans, it's for the Governor's Cup. They call it. Texans finished 10-7 last season. Won the division, won a playoff game against the Browns, went to Baltimore, and lost. They're getting better. They have very good coaching. D'Amico Ryans, C.J. Stroud had a magical rookie season, Dak Prescott-esque, if C.J. Stroud would have had a running game like Dak did, then if C.J. Stroud would have had the O-line and running back that Prescott did his rookie season, then C.J. Stroud could have won probably 11 in a row. Maybe went 13-3, 13-4, 17-game season, and possibly got the number 1 seed. A lot of similarities between the two. But Houston coming to our house Monday night, even though they're a team on the rise, a young team, I don't see them getting the best of us there. I just don't. I do not see that. And I can very well see us be 8-2 after 10 games going into Week 12 at Washington. Now, something to note here. First 10 games of the season is a tough stretch. Cleveland, Saints, Baltimore, Giants, Pittsburgh, Detroit, San Fran, Atlanta, Philly, Houston. Those first 10 games are the tough stretch. Theoretically, if we go 6-4 in those first 10 games, the last 7 games is a cakewalk. Last 7 games is at Washington, and then 4 days later at home against the Giants Thanksgiving. Then the following game is home against the Bengals. And then after that, at Carolina. And then at home against Tampa. And then at Philly, November 29th. That'll be a tough one. Weather factor involved. And then we end it at home against Washington. Don't know the time or date of that game. But those last 7 games, cupcake schedule type deal. And in that 10-game stretch that we begin with, we get a bye week in the 7th week. So after the first 6 games, Cleveland, Saints, Baltimore, Giants, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. Out of those 6 games, you have 4 quality opponents: Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. So out of the first 6 games, you have 4 tough teams to play. Saints and Giants, not so much. So after that rigorous first 6 weeks, that bye week probably comes at the right time, especially being that we're going to San Fran after the bye week. And who knows, we could pull the upset. That changes everything, but I'm still putting an L for the 49ers. So we beat Houston. We go to Washington the following weekend, a noon game on Fox. We rub Dan Quinn's face in the mud. I mean, we really give it to him. After that performance that he called against Green Bay, did not have this defense ready to stop a nosebleed. Even after it was 26-7 in the playoff game. And say Dak would have got the ball and had a 3-play touchdown drive, boom, 14-26. And just say he'd have scored every time he got the ball, hypothetically saying, say Dak just got hot, the offense got hot, and that 40-point average that we had at home we were doing, it wouldn't have mattered because anytime we scored, Green Bay would come right back down the field and score within 4 or 5 plays. We couldn't stop anything on defense, pass or run. It was the worst call Dan Quinn defense I've ever seen in his tenure for the Cowboys. And I believe his head was in the clouds in the future, thinking about what he's going to be doing in the offseason and who's going to recruit. I know nobody knows, but I honestly believe that during that week of preparation against Green Bay, that he already knew that he was going to coach Washington. I know he did interviews with different teams, this and that, but I have a feeling that he already knew that his door was in the foot in the Capitol and that he mentally checked out when he wasn't supposed to. You know what? Coaching searches and interviews, I mean, teams can fire coaches. They don't make the playoffs, But coaching interviews and searches should not be able to start until after the Super Bowl. I firmly believe in that, man, because that really jacks up the playoff system in a lot of ways. So we go to Washington, who Dan Quinn took Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Tyler Biadasz, and whoever else. And we're going to rub his face in the mud, and we're going to make it want to hurt, especially in their house. And we're going to put up a 40-burger plus and try to shut out that offense with that rookie quarterback that they have. That'll put us at 4-1, 5-1, 2. It puts us at 9-2 after 11 games, going into Thanksgiving versus Detroit. Against the Giants at Thanksgiving. Win there, it's 10-2. 10-2. 1, 2, 3, 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So after Thanksgiving, I can see us being 10-2. I really can. Then we have 5 games remaining. Home against Cincy, at Carolina, home against Tampa, at Philly, versus Washington. Now, right now we have 2 losses. Now, we're riding another winning streak, 5 games. We're feeling good. Cincinnati is battling for either a playoff spot or a high seeding. They come in our house and they give us an upset. We didn't see coming. Boom. 11-3. But it's okay because the following week we go to Carolina. A get right game and get that W. That makes it 12-3. After 14 games. Would be 11-3. All right, bear with me. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2, 10-2, 10-1, 11-1. 11-1 is okay. So 3 L's. It's 14 games. I'm confusing myself. I'm sorry. So 11-3 after 14 games. 11-3 after 14 games. And then we go home against Tampa, winner of the NFC South. We beat the brakes off them. Put us at 12 wins, 3 losses. With 2 games left to go. 12-3. At Philly. Really cold. See Philly's fighting for a playoff spot. Get that now. 12-4. And then versus Washington at home, week 18. If that game is for playoff seeding, to get us to the if it's the difference between the 3 seed or the 2 seed, if we win, we get the 2 seed, or if we win, we get the 1 seed. We're definitely winning that game. Which would make it 13-4. Now, if that game doesn't matter at all, and we are locked into a wild card spot, which means that 2 other teams have had really good seasons and have 12 or more wins, then we'll probably sit our guys, make that our bye week before the postseason, and go 12-5. But my early prediction is we go 13-4 or 12-5. Our losses probably be at Pittsburgh, week 5, at San Fran, week 8, and then looking at Cincinnati, week 14 at home, then at Philly, week 17. I would love to sweep Philly. And then at home against Washington, if we need to beat them, we will. If we don't, we won't. $12-5 or 13-4. Win the division. Worst seed will be the 3rd seed. The best seed we get is 1st seed. All right, nobody joined in live, so I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to do just a regular video, guys. Please subscribe, like, and share. Every subscriber counts, guys. Love y'all. Catch y'all later.